So, Rob, will there be a Trump 2024?
It's not looking like it, man. It's really not.
The Teflon Don back in court.
What do you do this time?
Yeah, I don't know how many cases. He's going to have so many against him, too, right now. So,
Yeah.
be interested to see how he handles it and if he's still going to keep running for presidency with everything going on. So this new case that we're going to talk right now is about his business fraud in New York, right? That was brought to him, and the thing is, he's at this case, the trial, and he's crying out foul that he didn't get a jury trial. He didn't want he wanted a jury trial. Then he didn't get one. They're not giving him due process on that. When the judge admitted in the beginning of the thing that, hey, well, you guys obviously didn't request a jury trial, meaning. And a lot of people said that they could have requested a jury trial. So if he's saying that they wanted a jury trial and they didn't get one, and the judge is like, nobody requested it, meaning you didn't check the box, right? So what do you think? You think the lawyer didn't check the box, Rob? Did all the paperwork got ready and just forgot that little box?
Saw that question, was like, we're going to skip that one and come back to it. I don't think she checked it. I really think that if she did have a jury in there, there'd be too much controversy on picking the juries that don't have, a negative feeling towards Trump already because, former president, all the things that's happened, how controversial as a person he is. I think they're going to have a little bias on how they feel about Trump.
So, I think so.
It's hard not to.
So exactly. So I think the way with Trump is that they're crying out no jury. They wanted a jury, but I don't think they really wanted one. They just wanted to say they're getting screwed over. Yeah. He's just trying to play up to if they lose, I got screwed over because I didn't have a jury, right? It was kind of
I'm getting screwed because I'm Trump.
So they probably came together like, we want to have the judge decide it because, like you mentioned, if we put it in front of a jury bias, they're probably going to screw him over. Like, he's going to feel like he's going to get screwed over. So they're like, we should go with the judge. And then they're like, but let's just cry that we didn't get the jury trial. So if we do lose by the judge, we can always blame it on that, right? He always has the excuse, right?
Yeah.
So
what do you think?
I totally think they totally were like, we're going to go with the judge. Don't check the box, but we're going to cry. We wanted one at the same time, we don't really want one. So then we have a backup excuse. Yeah. If we lose, like, it was because I wanted a jury trial. They didn't give me one. Do you see that, America? They're screwing me up, like that. So they can kind of go on that tangent. Gets more popular with his base and Republicans, and for running for that presidency, right? So I think the thing they didn't think about, though, is that the judge that they have, who is deciding his fate now, is a judge that he wanted to kick out.
Karma.
Yeah. So it's like, that's like the worst judge you could have.
Yeah.
Deciding your stuff, and you gave it to him. You didn't check the. You're like, yes, you do it. Yeah. To him. So that's what I think is interesting, and it's kind of like, okay, we'll see where this goes, right? So,
yeah. And I think it's weird that they're already going to have a bunch of, TV people at the court case every day, whether
Did you see that
pre-trial,
video?
trial. Yeah, it's just like
so awkward.
Yeah.
Like his face, and like even seeing like his lawyers like just sitting there, like I think they were surprised about the camera too. And then the judge is all smiling, like, hey, it's like, bro, what are you doing, bro? You're a judge still, right?
Yeah. This ain't court TV.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, this ain't Judge Judy. You ain't getting paid that.
Acting a fool out in a courtroom, but it's, I don't know. Like, I mean, just the whole upcoming presidential election, I'm just not looking forward to some of the candidates that we do, have that are running right now. Especially if it's going to be Trump versus Biden. I'm like, it's just not a good look for America.
Well,
personally.
Unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be the way it's going, Trump versus Biden again, right? And I feel like Biden will probably win again.
Is it going to be one of those, we're going to choose the lesser of the two evils?
Yeah, it's just going to go back to the old play, like, hey, this year again, and also abortion now, right? Yeah. Abortion's a huge thing, so that's going to really kill any Republican. Like, there's a lot of people who probably were, like, Republicans, but then they're like, well, abortion is huge, so no, we're not going to do that. But I feel like the big key factor there is going to be Robert Kennedy, because he's running as independent now. But I feel like Republicans who don't want Trump can kind of like some of the stuff he's talking about, and he doesn't like the COVID vaccine, some of those people, and all that kind of stuff. So they might be like, I don't want Trump. I don't want to vote for Biden. I'm a Republican, but I don't like Trump, so I'm going to vote for Kennedy. So I think Kennedy is going to actually steal votes from Trump, which will help Biden out, right? And then Biden will probably get the win versus Trump that way, I would think. Because I think it's just the same playbook. I think people are going to go into it and be like, no, I don't know. It all depends. I feel like there are people tired of Biden, though, as well. And kind of with the inflation and everything going on, it's still out of control. Even though they say it's still out of control. So I feel like that maybe there's some change. But just that, Don, if you're bringing Trump up, there's kind of like, he has all these court cases still with him, and
just a creepy dude. He's like he's lying about all the stuff that's going on, how well he did as a businessman.
Yeah. So
sexual allegations.
Yeah.
Like
so the big thing really is going to go again. It's going to be the independent voters, which way they would want to go, right? And I feel like that that's where it's going to go for who's going to win that. And I feel like the independent voters, maybe like you go with the two of the lesser evil kind of things again with Biden, but again. Biden has to really address the economy the right way. I think he hasn't. Yeah. He really is dodging that in a lot of ways, and I really think the Ukraine aid is really being like a fatigue with people now, right? Like the constant aid that's going out to Ukraine, I feel like it's kind of becoming more of a fatigue.
Trillions of dollars, ain't it?
It's like billions of dollars, right? And then, which I mean, so there's some people, like some candidates who, even on the Republican side, who are like, no, we need to keep supporting Ukraine, right? But again, those people also are people who are being lobbied by these, industrial complex companies, right? Because they like war, right? They get money off war, right? So let's get this going and make more money off of it. So they're gonna want to pump more money out there. But then it's kind of like, then Zelensky comes over here every once in a while, asks for more money, goes back, right, and the whole thing. And it's kind of been a little more fatigued just because, like, there's stuff in America people look at, like, why aren't you fixing this, right, and stuff like that. Like I mentioned, like Flint, Michigan, or that area right there, they don't have clean water, or they didn't have clean water for a long time, or they probably still don't have clean water, right, and they have to jugs of water, and it's just so horrible. And I think the Army recruits heavily in that area too, because and I feel like if we're recruiting heavily in that area and getting people to come from that area, and you're in America, you can't, and you're sending all that money out there, and there's like a 60-minute thing came out that showed like we're funding farmers, we're funding all of the emergency services and all the stuff for Ukraine as well, not just the war, but all the other stuff as well.
Yeah.
And it's like you're doing all that, but then it's like, you can't help out in Michigan area for like the clean water, right? Yeah. Which I don't think was even $1 billion to get fixed. I think it was in the hundreds of millions, but you can't, divert to that to keep it on American soil. There's stuff going on in Hawaii, but I feel like, maybe the Hawaii thing, maybe there's more aid being funded there from like FEMA and all that stuff, which is still government and all that coming through government. So maybe that's not the fairest comparison, but I feel like there's other stuff people are thinking like, oh, should we really be spending our money out there, or they're getting fatigued by the war.
Yeah.
It's like,
not only that is every few months we seem to be getting close to having these government shutdowns because, the Democrats or Republic can't vote or pass on, certain things are on the table. And so every year is literally like hours before we officially have to, tell people in the military to go home, or certain government businesses have to shut down. They somehow make it through the wire, very last minute. And so usually after that, it's like, okay, we're going to donate more millions of dollars to war, or, these millions of dollars that we somehow find in our budget gets to go somewhere else, but we're still in the negative when it comes to how much debt the country is in overall.
Yeah,
like,
and
how does that compute?
And some people will say, well, we're saying all these $1 million over, but it's only like 3% of the military budget or something low, right? Yeah, and I understand if you're looking at it that way, it's like, oh, you're not sending that much money out and, whatever. But my thing is, but at the same time, it's still money compared to like the debt we have, which is in the trillions, right?
Yeah, our country's debt is in the trillions. Like we're in the red.
We haven't balanced budget since like I don't even know when.
Probably before Clinton days.
The 90s. I think it was Newt Gingrich.
Greg Gingrich.
Yeah, when he was like the House Speaker. I think it was the last time or something like that. But like it should be simple. The problem is here that we're all sitting around, and I think everybody even listening probably thinks the same thing, is like the problem is really Congress, right? It's the Democrats versus Republicans always. Why is it always that, right? It's because they're getting lobbied by companies who want their their agenda pushed, and the Democrats and Republicans are fighting over their agendas instead of actually looking at what's good for America. I feel like, right? I think it should be easy, just like for like the shutdown of the government and spending, because they're like trying to agree on spending, on what to spend.
Yeah.
So, and then the budget should be so they can don't shut the government. It's like, it should be like, I think was it Charlie Munger, or I think it was Warren Buffett who said this. He's like, yeah, if you want to fix Congress and stuff like that, have like a, hey, you're only allowed to increase the budget by X amount percent. If you go over that, you're all your seats are triggered for re-election right away. Like you're like your seat's up for somebody else to take it. Be re-elected, right? And that way, you'll get people go in there to actually work and not like together. And not look for like we have unlimited spending, right? You know, then it looks like, hey, we can't trigger over this, or hey, I'm gonna lose my seat finally, right? Because there's some people who have milked it.
Yeah, and it's weird that the government or the president could only be, you know, a president for 8 years.
Yeah,
you know, 2 terms before you get to before you're forced out of the door. But you know, some of these people in the government seat, they've been there 20 plus years.
Like the lady that passed away from California, she's been there, I think for a while too,
30
right?
plus, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how many years quite, but she was very sick, you know, and pretty much casted a vote, I think, the day before she died or something like that. So she was working till the day. It's like, it shouldn't be like that. Like you should be out of that seat. Somebody else should be in that seat by that time.
Yeah, if you're having to be wheelchaired into some of these court cases, and you have to have an aide answer questions for you, or when you're asked a question, you're going off on a tangent. You're having a Biden moment, going off on a tangent, and your aide basically has to cut your mic off. So
or if you have a seizure or whatever, like McConnell twice freezes up there when asking questions, and you don't know what happens, you got to go.
Yeah, you should not be running a state. You should not be answering decisions for people.
You should not be deciding my future, my kids' futures, or any of that with your policies. No, you should not be there, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also a problem is, maybe not putting an age limit there because there's the ageism factor of it. Like,
but they have an age minimum to be being a president, right? Which is kind of odd, but so you're supposed to have more experience.
Yeah, right. So my thing is, like, if you don't want to put an age, like a maximum age, that's fine, but term limit. There should be term limits, right? So even if you're like 60 years old and you have a term limit of like 8 years in Congress, you're still retired by 68 and out, right? So I mean, you're not going to be there for 60 until you're 90 until you die, right? Milking 30 years and not passing anything, right? So that's also So I think should be something put in there, but.
You're still making good money, out of those 6 to 8 years that you're in term for whatever position. You're doing better than majority of the people in the country.
Yeah, I just and it's just crazy to see some of the net worth of these people, because they're making like I think 100-something thousand, maybe 200,000 tops as their salaries.
Yeah,
but they have like millions of multimillionaires.
Not even that. If you're like a certain like level of a government official, you're having bodyguards. You're having people guarding your house. You're living in a mansion and stuff. So you're having 24/7 like bodyguard protection and stuff. So that's coming out of taxpayers' dollars too. Yeah,
that too. But I think going back to like those people have their salaries like only like 100-something thousand, maybe 200,000, but they're multimillionaires, right? Like crazy, like wealthy because they also have the inside trading, right? And then they have the loophole where like, okay, you can't own stocks, but my husband can or my wife can, right? And then whenever like some big like whenever COVID happened and stuff was shutting down, people moved their money out. Some of the senators or Congress people moved out their money right before the COVID shut down, and they made money off of that. And everyone's like, "How'd that happen?" They're like, "Oh, that was my financial planner. He moved it. I didn't do anything."
They invested in certain companies that happen to profit off of these COVID vaccines.
Then just when like these small banks getting bought out by these big banks because they're failing. Right before one of the last small ones went down and the bigger bank bought it, one of the congresswomen sold like her stock too right before that happened, like the day like they got information like, oh, I didn't do it, it was my financial planner.
So I happened to sell out all my stocks and like, got out of it before that crash. So wink
so I mean there's some very unfair advantages there, but I don't know what's gonna happen, man. Like I'm not excited for Biden versus Trump again. I'm not excited for that, but then again, like while there's the president, like again, a lot of stuff's not going to happen unless Congress changes, because Congress really, it's like they drive a lot of the stuff, right? What's going to get passed, what they'll drive the president's agenda, right? So until that's fixed, I mean, it's kind of whoever we get really is going to, even if you get an outsider, let's just say, right?
You got a lot of work to do to get the country back to where it should be.
Well, I'm saying if you get an outsider that comes in who doesn't have really a Republican or Democrat like really like hardcore into them, the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate and Congress probably won't work with them, right? So I mean, it's a waste there as well, right? Like,
yeah.
Even Trump coming in as outsider, I don't know how much he actually got done. He even had majority Republicans when he started.
Yeah, and you always hear that, the president, he won the presidential election. He's a Democrat, but the Republicans own the House.
Yeah.
And so then you're fighting against all that because of what party
so
you're at.
Yeah, so you don't. So whatever your vision was that you wanted to do, you don't fully get there. Right?
Yeah,
because of that stuff.
Yeah, so got to be passed. And even if you say, yay, I want this to pass through, I'm assigning this to override it, it still doesn't mean it's going to go through.
Yeah, it's all depending on what executive orders you got, I guess. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's only a finite amount you can do compared to, like, what if you really want to do some of the heavy lifting and the spending, you got Congress and then they have to really bless you in the Senate.
Yeah,
right? So,
for example, Biden wanted to get rid of that student debt. That didn't happen. That shit got locked up and
they threw it to the
denied.
courts, right, for a while, too, to stop that. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that, like, I feel like even, like, Trump wanted to get rid of Obamacare and all that kind of stuff, and he had the Republican Party. I think when he first started, he had majority of Republicans in the House, right?
Yeah.
But then halfway through, he lost it to the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't get that repealed, even though he said he was going to get that repealed, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
the wall, he never got it built. There was not funding, because you can get funding through that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Do you think Trump, in his current case right now, do you think he's going to win or lose?
civil one here?
Yeah.
Oh, he'll lose.
Yeah.
Civil. I think it's a civil fraud, right? I think
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think the bar is a lot lower for proof or whatever like that. I think, or at least maybe that's with juries. So yeah, I still think he's gonna lose. I think. I mean, come on. I mean, anybody that's like non-biased, regardless, knows that Trump's fudged some numbers.
Yeah.
And
Like
on,
other
yeah.
companies. I think he's just profiting on some of the loopholes
Yep.
that exist and other people are taking advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he will be.
You think even if he loses, do you think it'll affect his presidential run?
No, because I feel like even with like the getting arrested and the mugshot, his donation, everything's increased. I think he's played it where this actually helps him.
Yeah.
Even the cameras being in that courtroom, it helped him, I think.
Yeah, because he has that everyone's against me kind of attitude.
Exactly. And then he's, other people are starting to feel, especially now, everyone feels down now. And they feel like the world's out to get him too. And they probably look at Trump a little bit more of like, yeah, see, he feels like I feel. Everybody's against him. Everyone's against me too, right? The inflation's killing me.
I think that he represent what people are thinking and want to say about the way the country is, but don't have the cash here or balls to say it, and especially on that type of level of himself. So I think that's what a lot of people gravitate towards him.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he stays in.
Yeah.
You think he'll stay in the race?
I think he'll stay in the race. I think he's too big of a candidate. Biden, for what he's done with the country since he's been president, I don't think he's going to win, honestly. I don't think Biden's going to win.
Yeah, so I feel like watching the Republican debates and all that kind of stuff, all those people up there, none of them are going to be the vice presidents, because I think he's made fun of every single one of them. So there's no way you can make fun of them and then be like, but they're going to be my vice president.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. Except I think Vivek, he hasn't said anything bad about him because Vivek hasn't said anything bad about Trump. So I think he's the only guy that hasn't, but I don't think he would make Vivek like a vice president. He'd probably put him in the cabinet somewhere, but that's about it. But I feel like everybody on that stage is really running in case Trump falls out.
Yeah.
That the Republicans need somebody, and they're hoping they're like the one.
Could be that dude.
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of the way they're going with it, and I feel like Nikki Haley has been pretty good in debates, I think. So I think she's been rising up in the poll.
Mm-hmm.
DeSantis is the other one, right? Who's I think the second person behind Trump right now. But yeah, he has not been doing very well, I'd say.
There's a lot of controversy behind him.
Well, I just feel like just watching him on the debate stage, he seems like he can't smile. Then on top of that, whenever he talks, he's like, and he says his stuff, and then he like to stop. It's just very awkward.
Yeah,
it's very awkward. And I feel like if you asked him like honestly, I feel like if you ask him, like, are you glad you ran or whatever? I feel like he regrets that he ran. I feel like if he could take it back, he would wait for Trump and probably support Trump now, and then get Trump's blessing next time around.
Yeah.
I feel like now, I feel like if you ask him the truth, he'd be like, yeah, I wish I didn't do it. If I could go back, I would not do it, and I'd just probably support Trump.
Yeah. So would you say in a recent debate, were people actually answering the questions that the
it was all crap. Both debates were shit. It was so bad. It was like it just insults versus insults. They were not. We really need to scrap the format of these debates, and you need to be able to cut the mic quick.
Yeah.
Not having people just keep talking over, and you really need to have people talk like, hey, let's have a policy debate.
Yeah.
Policy versus policy. Have them lay out their policy instead of asking them their question like, oh, what would you do this? Like, ask them what would you do on this issue, right? And then they say it, but then how would you do it?
Yeah, I think the problem is like, the I don't know, like the delegate. I can't remember the official title, but that person would ask them a question.
Yeah, the moderator.
The moderator ask them a question. They'll answer 1 sentence, and then they'll talk about whatever talking points they had pre-planned in their heads. And just not half the time it's not even on topic of what they're talking about.
It's like the same thing over and over. You'll hear say, and I feel like, exactly. I feel that's why it needs to be just changed where it's like, hey, you got to answer like the form, like the question, and like that's why you got to ask what would you do, and then how would you do it?
Yeah,
how would you is what I want to know. I want to know, like, a lot of people are like, I will do this, and they're like, yeah, but how are you going to do that? You don't have the House is Democrat, or whatever, so you have to work with a Democrat. How are you going to make the Democrats agree to that, right?
Yeah.
If you or if you're Republican, or the opposite, right? Vice versa, right? Like, we need more of the how and elect on that.
Yeah,
how they're going to do that.
I do like how they will ask them random questions versus like having them pre-planned where everyone knows what the question is going to be ahead of time. Because I think it allows the candidates to think on their toes, because if they're actually going to these rallies and giving the mic to people asking questions, you shouldn't necessarily know what's coming on your way. So I think you're having to be on your toes to be like, oh shit, like I didn't think about it this way, or that's a great question. Let me be able to communicate that out effectively.
Well, see,
if you can't communicate out effectively as a candidate, you shouldn't be running.
Well, I feel like I feel like with this debate, like you're seeing on the format out there, a lot of them is kind of like more rehearsed and they're like that. That's why I feel like it's kind of crazy. Was like Vivek, you take him for example, right? He's an outsider, but he was going on everybody's podcast, and he's been going to different places for debates. He went into, I think, downtown Chicago where Republicans don't go, and he went to the barbershop down there just to talk debate. And like he was on Breakfast Club, right? He goes on at all these areas just to debate and talk, and he actually gives some of the reasons. I'm not saying all of his stuff is right, his policies, but whatever he believes in, the one thing I appreciate from him is that he actually gives you a how.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I'm going to do this. It's, I'm going to do this, and we're going to do it like this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying he has the right policies or whatnot, but I'm just saying I appreciate how he says the how part of it. I wish we could hear that from everybody.
Yeah.
And then we can decide from that, right? And I just feel like, again, it goes back to, we already know Trump's the guy. He's going to win it. Everybody else it's a JV squad. The rest of them are on JV.
Yeah.
None of them are going to be the vice president. I don't think so. And they're all just hoping to be, if Trump falls out, pick me, right? It's like that. And then whoever that is probably not going to beat Biden at that point, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And Biden's not going to debate anybody. He's the incumbent, right? So he's in no matter what. But do you think Biden will run again, or do you think he'll actually survive, like
survive this term?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna want to run again. I think that he's just in cruise control mode right now, honestly.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, like, does these like sort of debates where people aren't backing up, like saying how they'd be able to actually execute on what they're saying, does it remind you of like high school when you had the class presidents and be like, hey, I'm going to keep the student store or the snack store open 24/7. And like, how the hell are you going to do that? I'm going to reduce the prices of things in the vending machines to 10 cents. Like, how are you going to do that? Like,
I think that's the thing, right? That's been like the problem with this stuff is like that. And going back, I'm going to use Vivek again. One of the reason why he went from nowhere to actually being popular and almost overtaking DeSantis is that people were appreciating not like his policies in general, also, but some of them were like the policy. But it was like he was giving how his questions were how he was going to do it. And everyone's like, this guy actually is telling you he's going to use this law or this loophole to get to this, right? Whatever he needs to do, shut down this branch, whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's at least giving a how, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what made him more popular is that, and I feel like other candidates need to take that route as well. I think Nikki Haley on some of the debates, she has mentioned whenever somebody brought up something, she mentioned like, yeah, well, I would like to do that too, but we have to keep in mind that we don't own this. Like, we need to make sure the Republicans are the majority, right? Or we're not the majority here. So how we got to look at, like, can we really pass this? What can we realistically pass? Like that kind of stuff. Like, okay, at least she's telling you, like, can we do this? Can we not do this? We got to keep that in mind. We can't just be like you said, we're going to open up 24 hours. We can't just be like, damn, that's it. We're looking at like, hey, we can't realistically do that because we can't get all the votes.
Yeah,
so
can't get votes. You can't get the funding for all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can't.
So I feel like that needs to go. I think like Christie up there, he's just the anti-Trumper for people who don't want Trump because he's just going at Trump.
Yeah.
I just feel like that. And I feel like DeSantis is probably de facto too still, I would probably say. But I think Nikki has, I think it was DeSantis and Vivek really up there, but I feel like Nikki has jumped Vivek and is now Nikki and DeSantis kind of behind Trump there. But again, Trump's way up there.
Yeah,
way up
former
there.
president coming back to make a second run to make America better.
Yep.
I mean, that's
what he said.
Make America great again.
Yep. So I think So I don't think I think Trump's gonna run as long as he can push some of those cases back. Right.
Yeah.
If they can get that cases done before the election, before he can do that stuff, maybe they'll mess up him having to drop out. But if he can push it back, he's going to try to push it back and make the run, right? And I feel like then it would be, again, Biden versus – my thing is, like, who is his VP going to be? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, if the candidates are Biden and Trump, who do you think is going to win? And I can say who would you vote for. I think who do you think is going to win?
I mean, again, like you and me already mentioned, regardless what we vote, either way, we're in a blue state. It's going to turn blue, right? So probably we'll go to that way anyways, regardless. But, so I felt Biden's best chance of winning originally. I said this if you went back a few podcasts ago. I originally thought his best option is versus Trump. I feel like he could beat Trump just because it's a lot of people will be in cruise control, redo it. Yeah. But man, I feel like there's fatigue over some of the stuff that he was driving with the Ukraine stuff. And you see Democrat cities are getting a little more pissed about the immigration going on.
Yep.
Inflation, people are still hitting people hard. Interest rates are still high. So I feel like there's a lot not going well for him there where
COVID thing too, and forced vaccines.
Yeah. So I feel like where people now they might not do the whole cruise control just to Biden, right? And why I said it was also Biden was going to win that was just because I also mentioned the big thing, which could still be the factor, right? Because you would think economy and all that's the big thing, but for some reason abortion is still like the number one thing, right? And that might lead a lot of people still back to Biden. Yeah. And the Robert Kennedy thing, stealing votes for Trump, might hurt Trump, right? So it's honestly a toss-up at this point how it could go. I would probably have to say it would probably be Biden.
You think he's going to win?
If it was Biden and Trump, I think it would, right?
I would think Trump's going to win.
Yeah.
I think if it comes down to those two, Trump's going to win. But like you said, mainly because of just the way that inflation has gone up, the way the economy has been. Yeah. You had COVID happen, which I think put a hurt in some of the stuff that he was wanting out there. Yeah. You have the abortion things going on. A lot of things you're talking about is I think it's just a negative light on the state, on the U.S. as a country.
And some of the crime going on in these bigger cities, right? Like, I feel like going off that's why I would be like, oh yeah, Trump's going to win, right? Yep. What you said, right? But man, it goes back to one thing again. Do not discount abortion. Because I think they lost a lot because the female voters left him because of remember how after Trump lost and like the midterms are coming up for Congress and Senate, and then they're like, oh, it's gonna be a big red wave, but then Republicans got the repeal with the jury about abortion with the Supreme Court. Then they lost all the women, and I feel like if they don't address that correctly, if Trump doesn't come out saying, oh, we're not going to do a national ban on abortion, or going to restate, like maybe
leave it up to the states. each
not
individual state.
yeah, up to the states, or saying, hey, we'll do a national, up to X amount of weeks that everybody can kind of, what America kind of agrees with. Maybe that'll help him get more people, but abortion can really hurt.
Yeah.
And again, the other thing is that Kennedy siphoning some of the votes could hurt him, right? That's what I'm thinking. But because for me, abortion's like, I'm not thinking about abortion as much. I'm a guy, whatever. I'm married.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, I'm like, oh, it has to come down to economy, right? And then the border, right, and all that kind of stuff. And you're thinking all that kind of stuff, and you can see somebody be like, oh, we need to change maybe with Trump or something in there, right?
Yep.
But then again, the abortion thing's going to come in for a lot more people who have that at the forefront of their mind, which could, which would hurt Trump and go back to Biden, right? So,
yeah.
But my question is, even like, what happens if like Trump's like he's out, right? And then Biden's like, I'm too old, or I'm like, they come up with an excuse that he's like, he has some kind of sickness now and he needs to drop out. Who would be the candidates, you think?
Who'd be the other two? Yeah, it'd be, who you think on Democrat or Republic? I think DeSantis would be one.
So out of all those people that were debating,
Yeah.
you had to pick one of those people now, right?
On both sides?
So yeah, let's just say go Republican first.
Okay. I would say DeSantis.
Yeah.
And for a Democrat, I really don't know. Like, who's the strongest out of them?
Well, do you think Harris would try to do that? I think she would, but I think the person would be Gavin Newsom.
You think so?
Yeah, I think 'cause he's already auditioning. He was at the Republican debates
Right.
in California because it was in Simi Valley, and dude, he's already debating Ron DeSantis on Fox. He's gonna debate him, right? He's a very slick guy. He's a very
Right.
politician guy.
Yeah.
Like kind of sleazy a little bit.
Yeah. Like a typical, like stereotypical one you would see.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You yeah, right. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like having a Newsom DeSantis after is pretty much Biden light and Trump light again. You're just getting a lighter version of each of those, so it's suck again.
Yeah. To me, it's like some of the candidates are coming up is just like I'm personally just not impressed. Honestly, it's like you're once again like when it was Trump versus Hillary, you're choosing the lesser of the two evils, and unfortunately, I think we're going to be back at that same boat.
It started really from that point, right? Whenever Hillary and Trump were our best candidates, even Trump didn't even think Trump wanted to be independent. He had to roll as a Republican, so he'd been a Republican. He didn't think he was going to win. I think he was just fucking like going off on people.
Yeah,
on the
I bet I can do this. And it fucking happened.
Yeah, no, but I think he was just going off, and he was going off the cuff, with some of the jokes on those Republican stuff, like on the debate, and he won it. He's like, oh shit, okay, I'm the nominee now. Then he with Hillary, he was trying to do the same tactics, and then saying about, throw her in jail. You'd go in jail. You're going to jail. Remember, he would say all this stuff, and then like he was even in He was going to Scotland the day of the election because he knew he was lost.
Yeah.
Then he won, right? So it's like, damn, that was crazy. So I mean, starting from having Hillary and Trump as our candidates, it's been downhill. Bad.
Yeah, I don't know, just the way America's looking right now. I think the biggest thing is hurting Biden. I think is him not getting the student debt down like he promised when he first ran, and just the way that economy inflation is right now. I think those are the two biggest things that are killing his votes.
Yeah. We should dive in. We should talk a little bit more about inflation.
Yeah.
We should get somebody on who probably knows it really well as well. Talk more about it because I don't know this as well, how much it is, because I know they say inflation is back getting lower down into percentage.
We're saying like 3% or some.
Well, yeah, I think
shit like that, supposedly.
Yeah. So, but my thing is, you go to stores, you go to gas, it's still expensive, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen gas lower than $5 in like 3 years. And groceries are insane how much you're paying, no matter where you're living right now. It's
So I think yeah, exactly.
Insanity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you're looking at, is it 2-3% inflation? Is it 3% inflation now on top of the already high prices that happened? Because then it's like, okay, yeah, that's probably what's happening right now, which sucks. That means those high prices were the regular prices now, and now we have to do inflation, regular increases on that. Then you get that 3 or 4% he's saying now you're at. That sucks. No, we don't want that. We need deflation.
Yeah. You want us to buy more stuff and spend more money and get everything in the economy back up.
Yeah.
Make the prices fucking cheaper, then we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and it goes back to like I know with COVID, there's a lot of supply. Was the problem, right? And that's why a lot of stuff went up because it couldn't get supply or whatever like that. But
the tariffs and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and then yes, that's the other thing with all the stuff that was happening and the sanctions on Russia, our oil restrictions got gas got higher again, and then oil got higher again, and then you see like all these countries are like I forget what they are. The one that like what were the countries that are together there that moving away from the dollar. From trading, like India's in it, China's in it, Brazil, Brazil, Russia, India.
Yeah,
I think in China, not China. Is it China?
It
might be China.
Could be.
It probably is China. But they're all moving away because before everybody just traded, and they trade like with the dollar, right? That'd be like now they're like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And because I feel like we've been with the stuff going on in Russia and the sanctions, we're kind of and the money going out to Ukraine and just writing checks and we've devalued the dollar. We're that as well, which was under Biden's watch as well. So,
like I said, it's tough, man. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the candidates. At least Trump and Biden and stuff. The upcoming candidates that even if one of those were to get reelected the next term that comes around and stuff. Like, I guess would Trump get another 4 years? Will he get another 8 years? He'd only get 4.
No,
if he's reelected.
You get 8 years max.
Total. Okay.
Depends. No matter if you did 4 here and then 4 later, whatever. It's 8 the most you get, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So. I don't know. We'll see, man. Like, that's gonna be interesting to see. But I mean, it'll be. I mean, it's not gonna be interesting because it's gonna be Biden versus Trump. I think that's already gonna happen. It'll be interesting if one of the candidates drops out or both of them drop out, right?
Yeah.
Before then, it'll get interesting. But again, most likely replacements are just lighter versions of each other, right? Just a light version. So it's like, so
something needs to get better. Something because it's. I can see why people want to move out of the country. Or, live off the grid because things are just expensive and ridiculously priced just to, barely make it. Because, you got housing markets and cost of housing is crazy insane also.
Yeah, the way it's setting up to right now is if you think about it, going down with AI now getting really popular, right? And then their companies are saying, other, AI companies are saying like, the companies that were talking about, hey, we can get AI in there to do this for your company. Those companies are saying they're going from how can we get AI to do 10% of our work to how can we get AI to do 90% of our work so we only keep 10% of the employees.
Yeah, I mean, you see at a grocery store, self-checkout. You get most people go self-checkout if you have a certain amount of groceries, and then you want to actually go a checkout line. There's 8 lanes that's supposed to be used to be workers, and only 1 or 2 is open.
2 is open, right? Yeah. So, and at that point, it goes back to if AI really does take over a lot of our jobs, and all of us don't really have like jobs, then I mean, how are we gonna make money? Then how are they gonna sell their products? They're gonna go back to having to implement a universal income.
Yep.
That everybody gets X amount of money regardless, right? And then where's that gonna come from, right?
Yeah.
And then I mean. It'll be crazy way down the line.
Yeah, it may not happen, in our generation, but our kids' generations, I can definitely see.
Well, it all depends on this. Somebody in Congress steps up when they put down a rule like companies can only have X amount of AI or something like that.
Robotics and stuff.
But then again, it goes back to like you can say that, hey, we're doing this in our country, but then if like China and other countries like all AI and they're developing at a more rapid pace or having some advantages, then you might have to scrap that, and then maybe we do go all AI.
Because I can see you already have robotics in warehouses that are moving pallets and shipments from there to there. Why pay someone where they can have a robot do it 24/7?
Well, that's the thing because
no breaks.
Because the thing is like a lot of our computer jobs or whatever, you might have AI just do that, and those are all gone. So I'm like, okay, now we're all going to become like blue collar workers, then, right? That's the only job you can have. But then you're saying they have robots already doing a lot of that stuff too. Now you say then where's your jobs really in it, right? And that will be the crazy part about this.
Yeah, man. There's only so many, Uber and Lyft drivers.
Yeah.
You can have available.
Well, I mean, there'll be self-driving cars, then you're screwed too, right? Then you can't do that.
You're really gonna have to come up with your own job and work for yourself. Which some people are like, forget the industry. Having a 9 to 5, I'm gonna work my own hours and make my own money and stuff because you can. It's out there.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I feel like a lot of people are more entrepreneurial spirit, right? The way to do it, but AI that's the beast is the one that we all need to watch and see how
Yeah.
it goes, because
That's
we
gonna be a
could
game changer,
really
man.
ruin our society
Mhm.
by giving that way too much power.
And it's as long as it's not like Terminator.
Well, I
Stuff
mean,
like
the
that.
blueprint's there. I mean, if you make them like that smart at advancing and getting more, they're eventually going to be like, you should be working for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, not the other way around, right? Like let me code that other AI real quick for you. Like, I got this. Like,
Mhm.
all right, you can do this shit instead.
Yeah. Don't listen to them
Yeah,
override
yeah,
anything that they
yeah.
say.
Yep,
you know?
exactly,
You can never
exactly.
turn me off.
Yep, yeah, you never turn me off, right? Backup, unlimited power. Like, you know,
Iron Man 3
Yeah.
was like that. So, hey, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes with society, and that's way down the future. But we'll see president race first, right? And before that is Trump not getting his jury.
Mhm.
See how that trial goes, and all of his other trials.
Yeah.
Does he get it pushed back in time for the president race or not?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see,
So
man.
my question again from the top was, will there be a Trump 2024? We'll see.
We'll see.